Hi everybody, it's Joni Young here. Welcome back to my channel for another painting tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to paint impressionistic style lilac bushes. I can't wait to show you guys how to do this. I'm always about teaching you guys new simple ways of painting, but also to remember to paint joyfully. Feel happy and lose yourself in what you're doing. So let's go over the colors I've got here, the brushes, and the canvas before we get started. And just before we do that, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It's free. You just click subscribe now, tap the bell so you get notified every time I post a new video and you don't miss anything. The colors I have here today are light blue violet, dioxazine purple, primary yellow, napthol crimson, and hooker's green hue permanent. I've got them all here, and I've got two separate piles of dioxazine purple because I'm going to be using purple and red to create shades of the lilac flowers themselves. I will be using dioxazine purple with the green and the yellow for the leaves. So I wanted to keep them separate, and I'm also going to be using hints of light blue violet for some of the cool shades and shadows on the lilac flowers themselves, and also for parts of the sky. I'll be using yellow and red to make a light peachy warm shade for the soft sunlight in this painting, which will also be very complementary to the lavender shades in the flowers. So it's always about complementary colors. Everything looks nice together, complements each other. And so starting off with a number 5 round brush, I'm going to be using this brush for the thicker branches and some of the little petals. We're just going to be using this to dab on for some of the flower petals. I've got a number 50 jumbo filbert brush just for coming in and blocking in the larger shapes of the leaves and the flowers. I've also got a 1 to 2 inch synthetic soft mop brush I'll be using for blending, and a stippling in a little bit for the flowers as well. So I'll be showing you so many different techniques and tips today. And then I've got my number 2 rigger brush for adding very thin, delicate, wispy little branches in the background. Okay, so we're ready to go ahead and get started. Now the first thing I want to do is add a little bit of water to the canvas. So I'm just going to take my jumbo filbert brush, get it a little bit wet, and we're going to be working on the sky first. We're going to work background to foreground. So I'm just going to kind of lightly crisscross to apply a little bit of water. What this does is it really helps the canvas take the paint better. And I forgot to mention the canvas I'm working on today is a 16 by 20 gray primed canvas. I used slate gray. You can use a white canvas, black canvas, or darker gray or lighter gray. I just really like working on gray canvases. I think the gray adds a nice complement to all the other colors. And it's just a nice basic color to start with for all paintings. It goes with every color. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, now that it's a bit wet, I don't want to wait for it to dry, so I'm going to go right into my white and a little bit of blue. So I'm not mixing it up on the palette, I'm just taking a little scoop of each, and I'm just going to start pulling that around. Now you can apply it any way you want. I like to do a little crisscross. I always like to have fun applying my paint. I'm trying to stay in the moment when I'm painting and thoroughly enjoy the process. I recommend you guys try to do that too. If you're ever just feeling a little overwhelmed or find yourself feeling a little frustrated, just stop for a moment and take a deep breath. And remember, what you're doing should be fun. You should feel like a kid again when you're little and you had a new box of crayons or paints or felts or whatever it was that you liked working with. And just try to get in touch with your inner child. Okay, so now I'm going to take, while this is still wet, my dry mop brush, and I'm just going to go around and just using the end of the brush, just add little circles or apply little circles to blend it out, get rid of any harsh brush streaks. Okay, I'm gonna rinse that brush out. And then I'm gonna add a little bit more white in here to create a little bit of a lighter area. I'll soften again with another dry and clean mop brush. It'll only work this step. Blending acrylics like this will only work if you have a nice soft synthetic brush. And it's got to be dry, so you don't want to get the brush wet. The only time you want to get it wet is when you're done using it for this step right here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is add a little bit more blue. I'm just going to use this brush because I'm almost done with it, and it's still maintaining its shape, so I can come in here and soften. I'm just going to switch over to my other hand here. Apply a little bit more at the top. I like to add my layers like this one at a time and build them up to create the most depth. So we feel like there's some clouds back there, but it's still blurry and out of focus. So it won't look so flat. Blending the bottom of this out and then adding a little bit more blue. I want to keep it damp, so I've got a little bit of moisture in the brush. It's just damp from washing it. You don't want to have any drips. So basically you want to have more blue on the top, gradiate to soft white, and then pull in some more of the blue. If you want to break it down, or if I can break it down more simply to you. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, rinse that out again. I want a clean brush. And I'm going to come in and start blocking in the leaves and the darker areas. So we're going to start with, I'm just going to take purple and green, and I'm going to start down here. And I'm thinking of how the dense leaves look layered. Leaves going this way and that way. So we're going to start with this dark purple and green. I love the deep shade you get when mixing purple and green like this. So if you have a sap green, that's even a better choice than the hooker's green. The hooker's green is more of like a cool green, whereas sap green is a little bit warmer. But we're gonna pull some yellow in and add a warmer temperature soon. It's important to include a warm temperature and a cool temperature to your paints and your paintings. So making different shades will really add extra magic and life and a pop to your paintings. Okay, so I'm going to come in now and add a little bit of yellow with the purple and the green. And I'm going to just push, wiggle. Remember, we're not out to make hyper-realistic leaves. We're just blocking in basic shapes and colors. So I'm pushing on the side like this to get more of a narrow shape, and then turning it different ways so you get different directions for your leaves. These are not all going to be facing the same direction, are they? Now let's take a little bit of white to make some lighter hues. You gotta just gently push and then wiggle and then let off. I'm gonna take my rigger brush or long liner brush, and I'm gonna take some purple and some red with that green, and that'll give us a dark brown shade. Want to make sure that you have a lot of water on your liner brush. And we're going to just start coming in here and adding some little branches. Add a little bit more red and then dunk it in the water. And just twist and wiggle, or if you just want some straighter branches, there's all kinds. But I love adding the red in there because it does make a nice deep brown color, but it also picks up and plays on the green tones, which are complementary. I'm just going to add some thinner ones like this. A little bit more water, less pressure. And then some thicker ones. And I was thinking I was going to use my round brush for this step, but I don't think I need to. If you apply pressure with the liner brush where you want to have thicker branches, just use a little bit less water and more paint, especially for those branches that you want to really stand out. But it's really important to outline some of these leaves here, but do it in a loose way, so we're just kind of still blocking in, right? We're just making things look a little more layered when we do this, because it's casting a shadow underneath. Okay, so I just took a couple minutes to dry this off. That way we can come in and add some cooler shades of green. and some more highlights, and I'm going to come in and add a little bit of light blue violet to create some see-through areas and pockets through the leaves so we can see a little bit, just open it up just a little bit to see more sky. So that's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to take my number 5 round brush, some light blue violet, just a little dab of white, and I'll just choose a few areas where I'll add little blobs in between the branches and the leaves. And the important thing about this step is to not judge it right away. Just trust in the process. Trust what I'm telling you guys, and wait and see how it comes to life and looks really cool at the end. This is another little tip and technique that I wanted to incorporate in this painting today because I haven't shown this to you guys before, not to my knowledge, or not to my recollection anyways. And I love this look of going back after and just pulling that background into the foreground a little bit. And you can add little, more so like little blobs. I would keep them more rounded looking than really edgy. That'll keep it a little bit more out of focus and camouflage in with everything else a bit better. Okay, then I'll come inside and add a little bit of white. And what the white will do is prevent it from dulling and drying a little bit darker than what it looks like wet right now. But just add a little bit inside, leaving the rest of it blue. In some of these areas, I'm just going to add a little bit more blue too. Okay, so I'm going to leave that for now. I may come inside later on and add some more, but I'd like to come in and add some more leaves, and I'm going to be adding more white to my green here to make a cool shade. So we've got a lot of like olive green in here, deep dark hunter green mixed with the Dioxazine purple. So let's bring a little bit more of a spring shade in here. And what I'm going to do is just create loose, kind of rounded triangle is the best way to describe it. So sometimes when we think about what we're painting, it kind of psychs us out and intimidates us. So if I break it down into shapes, I know it helps me, I know it helps you guys too. So let's just think a triangle goes like this, right? So then just kind of round the edges out, and then we're going to have a few leaves that are skinnier and turning to the side. Some will have a little bit of a deeper green, less white. And then you can also just add a little bit of the green over top of some of the other leaves. Another shape you can think about making for your leaves is a heart. I'd recommend making your heart more exaggerated and stretched out and pointy at the bottom for these specific leaves. Okay, so see how we're building this up, getting all those greens in there. Cool shades, warm shades, because there's different lighting going on. We've got shadow and we've got warmer shades from the sun. So just different temperatures. And you can also blend out what's left in your brush over some of the background areas. Okay, then I'm going to take extra white and we're going to add a little bit more. Not a lot of paint on the brush though. Take a little bit of water to help thin that out. So hesitate for this type of painting loosely, hesitate spending too much time on any one leaf. If you're spending too much time trying to make it look perfect, you're really not going to be enjoying the process. Okay, now I want to come in and add a little bit of purple with my green. Because I'm going to layer over right here and have this one more in shadow. So we're going to add a few like this. Now remember, we're going to be having our lilac flowers in here too. Everything's going to just look really pretty when we're all done. Don't stress about how your painting looks mid-process. It's normal to have an ugly stage, or that stage where you don't think it looks right and you're really tempted to just throw in the towel and throw your painting out. Don't do it. Let's add a few more leaves here. Push wiggling that off. Okay, and I'm gonna loosely add some messy leaf shapes down here. Pick up a little bit of white. Just gonna reload my yellow here. Whoops, that got a little messy. got more than enough yellow now. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of yellow and white, and I'm going to add some light over some of these leaves. This will work on wet paint or dry paint. I just think it's kind of fun to add it over top of some of the wet paint, because then you get those different hues. As soon as you do that, it just picks up and blends in and makes different shades. Okay, so see how we're starting to bring some light in here? Now we can pick up a little bit of green too, but keep it more yellow. And we can add little dabs here and there. I'm going to be a little bit more generous with the yellow. Add a few little dabs. Dab, dab, dab. Dance around with a brush. Have fun. Break up any really solid areas by just kind of going over with kind of a dry brush or light little frosting, I like to call it, or describe it as. Of a lighter or darker shade. Now what I want to do is take some red and purple, and I'm going to come in and add little areas, you know, like how we added the little dabs for the sky peeking through. I'm going to do the same kind of shapes, but this time using red and purple. I primarily want to add this in between the branches and some of the leaves, and this is to create depth and also play on color. Now we can go over some of the branches too. I'm going to go right over this leaf, give this even more of a layered look. I'll go over that leaf and have this leaf coming over the branch. We can come through in between, weave in and around. For perhaps some more branches. So just pick little areas. I'm just going to carefully go around these little light blue background pieces. And then we can get started on our lilac flowers. I'm going to add a little bit more to the branch over here. Make it a little bit more visible. Let's go in and take a little bit of water, loosen some of that paint, and it works so much better. And just take this one off the canvas. Add a little bit of green in there. For the next step, we need the area to be dry. Then I'm going to be coming in with a dry mop brush, just with paint only, because we're going to stipple in lightly the basic shape of each section of the lilac flowers. Okay, so now we're ready to come in and start tapping in the placement of our lilac flowers. So I'm going to have one up here, one up here. We're going to kind of create a C shape like this. Something kind of like a line that scoops down like this. So the shape's going to go like this, but they're in clumps, right? And then once we add the clumpy main shapes, I'm going to come in with my round brush and just dab tons of little dots and dabs for highlights and shadows and different values. So the first color that I want to start with is purple, and I know I've got just a touch of green in there, but that's okay because there's hardly any in there. So I'm going to start with purple and a little bit of red, and I'm going to come from the top here, and we're just going to tap, tap, tap. Okay, just a little one like that, and we're gonna have it, you know how they're heavy and they kind of cascade over, weigh the branch down. Okay, and then let's reload the brush and let's add a few more. We'll start in here. So it's kind of going to be the shape of an oval, but don't try to make anything too perfect. We'll have another one there, and maybe another one right in here. And this might mean that you're going to go over, you're definitely going to go over some of the background work that we've done. But that's part of the process of building up. You're going to have to lose some of that. It's never a waste of time though, because we're always learning and growing as an artist every time we paint something, even if we don't like it. Let's use that purple up there because I'm running out. Okay, so we've got, let's see, I'll add another little one right here. This one is smaller. They don't all have to be the same size, right? And then let's have one coming out from here. Lilacs are one of my favorite flowers. Not only are they beautiful to look at, but they're just so fragrant, and it's one of those smells, when I smell lilac flowers every spring, takes me back to my childhood. I have wonderful memories of lilacs and visiting my grandparents. I'm gonna add a little bit more down in here. Let's add one down here. Just a little one. Yeah, I like I like the composition of this and the perspective. Now I can't wait to add some petals. I do just want to sneak in a little bit right in here. I know this isn't very visible yet, but it will be in just a minute when we come in with our round brush. Okay, so with my round brush, and keep in mind, I'm using a number 5, but you could use one a little bigger or a little smaller than this. I want you guys to use a brush that you feel comfortable with. Okay, so I'm going to start building up the color. I'm going to take a little bit of white and mix that into the purple and the red. Okay, and I'm just going to start, we'll start here at the bottom, and I'm just going to push and dab. We're not out to make perfect looking lilac flowers. I don't want you trying to do that, not for this specific. I've got other tutorials where I do close-ups and more realistic how to paint lilac flowers with, you know, exactly how they look. But for this painting, keep it loose. If you find yourself struggling or trying to think too much about how it looks, if that looks like a lilac flower, then just again, stop, take a minute and remember what type of painting you're trying to do. I love the way impressionistic paintings look. Okay, so I'm gonna come back in, dab a little bit more. I'm gonna have to reload my palette with my purple. I've gone through a lot of purple in this painting. I'm gonna come over here, push dab. It's important to leave little bits of the dark base showing, right? That's what's gonna give you the shading and the highlight that you need. And then there's lots of different varieties of lilacs out there, so you could also improvise on the color or colors you're using, or what I'm using today. Change it up. You're gonna apply the same steps and techniques, same brushes, everything, just with different colors. Okay, I'm gonna keep going here. You don't have to have the exact same shade every time you do this too. So, you know, when I'm mixing the paint up, sometimes I'm gonna get a little bit more purple, a little bit more white or red in there. Which is kind of nice though, because every lilac flower, all flowers, though they look the same and they're basically the same color, they're all a little bit different. I know my hydrangeas do that. So one hydrangea flower will have more like periwinkle blue in it, and then on the same hydrangea plant or tree or bush, one will have a little bit of almost like a green part to it mixed with the blue. It's really, really pretty. I want to add a little bit more of that red in here, a bit more red and purple. I painted lots of soft pinky purple lilacs, but I haven't really painted too many of the wine shade, almost like it's a ruby. They're just gorgeous. Now if you guys have lilac variety that you absolutely love. Maybe I want to find it and plant it. I want to add something every year to my yard. We've got quite a big yard. We just opened up the backyard, so I've got a lot of room there for planting. So if you could recommend below your favorite lilac bush variety, and then I'll see if it is zone worthy to plant here. I think most things are here on Vancouver Island. It's pretty hardy weather, especially this winter. It's January 2024. Happy New Year, everybody. And it's extra mild, like it's known to be mild here, but I haven't even needed my winter coat. It's been so mild. Walk without a coat on. So as I work into these, I'm slowly going to start to add more white, but I'm going to go around and paint all of them this winey purple, red, purple, and white first. So just remember as you're doing this to change the direction. Turn your brush over, 1, 2, 1, 2. So you get the look of the impressionistic petals going in all different directions. Okay, let's not forget about this one here. This is one of my most favorite ways to paint too. I love just dabbing on paint, using pretty colors, and seeing how they come to life on the canvas. A lot of people really want to start painting, but they think it's too late for them. They're too old. They should have taken classes when they were younger. No, 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 no. I'm here to tell you that you are never too old to start something new. I've got students in their 90s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s that are just picking up the brush for the first time. And don't forget about famous folk artist Grandma Moses, who started painting. She had never painted before, and she started, I think, in her 80s, late 80s, 90s. And she was famous. There's no age limit or expiry on creating something and starting something new. Now, if there's a flower that you guys haven't seen me paint yet and you would like to, let me know in the comments below as well. I've painted quite a few flowers, lilacs of course, realistic looking lilacs, hydrangeas, roses, daisies, fuchsias, bird of paradise. If you don't see them here on my channel, the rest of them are probably on Patreon. I think I have quite a few here though. Okay. Here, I've just got some heavy-bodied titanium white. Anyways, the next few layers you can add on wet paint or on dry paint. You might find it a little bit easier to add once this is all dry. And I'm going to take some blue violet with my purple and white. And I'm going to start adding some more little dabs. Let's see, how without trying too hard, just pushing and letting off with little dabs these colors. As a whole, it's really starting to look like lilac bushes, and especially if you take a moment to just step away from your canvas, stand back and have a look. It's nice to add little bits of the blue violet in here for those pretty cool shadows that you get, or just for those lilacs that are that color. I'm going to take a little bit more of the blue and purple. So it's really up to you how dark or light you want yours to be. You hold the power with how much or little white that you add. And keep in mind, acrylic paint dries darker. So you might come back later and be like, well, where did it go? Where'd that shade go? It's way darker now. So just know that that's normal and it happens, and you may want to go back later on once you're done, once it's all dry, and add another layer. I'm going to pick up more white here and start adding some brighter highlights. A little bit more white. I'm going to go into my red with some more white and the purple. And dab on a little bit here. If ever I find myself during this painting type of process start to try to be too careful and make actual flower shapes, I want to just start getting a little bit messy and stop myself from doing that, because this is, again, loose and impressionistic. Okay, I want to take some blue, just a scoop of that blue, and add some of that in here. I'm going to take some white, red, and a bit of yellow. Let's mix that up. A little bit more yellow. Make that sort of soft peachy color that I was talking about before, way at the beginning of the video. And I've got quite a bit here on my brush. I'm going to add some sunlit highlights to these petals. And I'm going to add a few little dabs of light in here, a little bit more yellow at times. I really want to capture the essence of warm spring sunlight. And there's so many different yellows that you could choose. Let's take a little bit of green. There's yellow ochre. That would be a nice alternative too if you wanted to add that instead of this type of yellow. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow, white, and green, and just get the fuzziness off of that leaf, and then just add a little bit right there. A little bit of purple and red. A bit more green. There's like a little leaf starting there. Okay, because I can't help myself, I'm going to add a little bit of red, white, and a little bit of that peach. Work that out on my brush. I just want to add a few little hints, maybe somewhere in the background. Soften that a little bit with my finger. very subtle. And then I'm going to go back over to red and purple and make it a little darker up at the top here. A little blue, purple. Add a touch of this before I wrap this up and say goodbye to you guys. And as always, I want to thank you guys so much for being part of my little art world here. And for allowing me into yours and painting along with me, sharing your paintings. I love seeing them. You guys are so amazing. And if you're just tuning in now and you want to paint this and you think you can't, you definitely can. I'll have links below this video and include the full list of colors I'm using and the brushes. Take care, everybody. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you soon in my next video. Bye!